All right, welcome back everyone to the deep dive, where we can kind of roll up our sleeves and take a deep dive into the stuff you're curious about. We get those sources you send our way and try to really pull out the most important, interesting, and I think helpful pieces.
Absolutely. Yeah. We try to sift through it all, kind of do the heavy lifting so you don't have to.
Exactly. And today we're diving into chapter 06 from the text you sent over.
Okay, yeah. Chapter 06. This one is all about, well, it's called use of the will. And, willpower is one of those things we all think we understand, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, who hasn't had to, dig deep for some willpower at some point, right?
Exactly. But this chapter, I think, offers kind of a different perspective, especially when we talk about well-being and, achieving better health.
Yeah, when you hear willpower, I mean, it's easy to think about, pushing through a tough workout or, resisting that extra slice of cake. But this chapter, it kind of flips the script, It's saying that maybe the most effective way to use willpower, your mental strength, is in a completely different area. It's all about, the mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about white-knuckling your way through things, forcing yourself physically. It's more about this shift in how you're using your mind.
Right, like a more, a smarter approach to willpower. So let's get into it. Chapter 6, use of the will. And right off the bat, it tells us what not to do, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's important to start there because there are a lot of misconceptions about willpower, right? So the text is pretty clear that we shouldn't be using our will to, push our bodies beyond their limits. Okay. Or try to control things that are, automatic bodily functions.
Right, so trying to mentally will your heart rate to slow down or something, not going to work.
Not going to work.
So if we're not supposed to direct our willpower at our physical selves like that, where should we be focusing this energy? What's the right way to use it according to this chapter?
Well, the chapter makes a pretty strong argument that the only legitimate use of our will is in the realm of our thoughts, right? It's about making conscious decisions about what we choose to believe, what we think about, where our attention goes.
So it's about shaping our inner world.
Exactly. I think of it like, your mind is like a garden, and your will is the gardener. You get to decide what you plant, what weeds you pull up, and all that.
I like that. It's about tending to our mental landscape. So we're not forcing our bodies, but we are working with our beliefs and thoughts. And speaking of belief, the chapter really connects that to our will.
Yeah, it's saying that belief itself actually starts with a choice, like a will to believe. Now, it acknowledges that, we can't always just instantly believe something just because we want to.
Right. Some things take, more convincing than others.
Of course. But the idea is that you can choose to start believing in something, and that's especially important when we talk about health and well-being.
So if you're looking to improve your health, the first step, according to this chapter, is to choose to believe in certain principles.
Right. There are these core beliefs that the text emphasizes, and it says, we should be consciously adopting these.
Okay, so what are they? What are the key beliefs?
Well, the first one is the belief in this, they call it a thinking substance. It's like the source of everything, including health. You can kind of think of it as this fundamental intelligence, this life force that underlies all of existence.
Okay, so like a universal energy that's inherently good, healthy.
Exactly. And the key here is that by believing in it, you're sort of aligning yourself with it.
Makes sense. So belief in this source of health is number one. What's the next essential belief?
The second one is that you as an individual are also a manifestation of this thinking substance. You're a mind and body connected to the physical world, of course. But what's interesting is that the text makes this direct connection between our thoughts and our bodily functions. It's saying that our thoughts aren't just these abstract things happening in our heads, they actually have a real impact on how our bodies work.
Wow. So our mental state is directly tied to our physical health.
That's what the chapter is suggesting.
Okay, that's pretty powerful. Okay. So we've got belief in a universal health force, and then the belief that we're part of that force, and our thoughts directly impact our health. What's the third core belief we should be working on?
The third one is the belief that consistently focusing on perfect health will lead to healthy internal functioning. But, and this is a big but, it comes with a condition. Your external actions have to align with these thoughts.
Right, so it's not enough to just think healthy thoughts if you're still living an unhealthy lifestyle?
Exactly. You can't just think about being healthy while, eating junk food all day and never exercising. The belief has to be backed up by action.
It's like, visualizing yourself achieving a goal, but then not actually putting in any work to make it happen. The chapter really emphasizes this idea of alignment between our thoughts and actions, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It says that belief without action is like a muscle you don't use. It'll just wither away. So, if you're acting like someone who is sick, you're kind of sending mixed signals to your mind and body, even if you're thinking about being healthy.
So it's a bit of a reality check for all of us. Like, are our actions supporting our desires for better health, or are they working against us? Now, besides these core beliefs, the chapter also talks about forming this, what it calls a conception of perfect health. What does that even mean, practically speaking?
Yeah, it's not necessarily about having this super detailed picture in your mind of what perfect health looks like for you. It's more about developing a deep understanding of it. Like, what does it mean to live a healthy life? How does it feel? What are the qualities of someone who's truly healthy?
So it's not so much about, like, a specific body image. It's about a feeling, an overall sense of well-being.
Right. It's about grasping the essence of health.
Okay, so how do we go about forming this conception? What does the chapter recommend?
It gives a few concrete steps. The first one is to think about how a healthy person acts, how they move, what their energy level is like, what kind of mindset do they have.
I could see that, like picturing someone who's moving with ease, strength,
Right.
who's got energy, enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next step is to imagine yourself going through your daily life with that same kind of energy and vitality. So you're not just thinking about a healthy person in general, you're visualizing yourself doing your everyday activities with that same level of health and strength.
It's like mentally stepping into the shoes of your healthiest self.
Yeah, exactly. And the key, the chapter says, is to focus on what it calls the strong way of doing things. So you're not dwelling on your limitations or any feelings of weakness you might have. You're consciously directing your focus towards a stronger, more capable version of yourself.
So even in our everyday tasks, we can be choosing to focus on strength rather than weakness. All right, so we're cultivating the right beliefs, building this strong conception of health. Now, how do we actually use our will to manage our thoughts day to day to make sure they're aligned with all this?
Well, that's where the rubber meets the road, right? This is where your willpower comes into play, moment to moment. The chapter talks about this process of actively rejecting thoughts of sickness or disease. Like, as soon as they pop up, you gotta shut them down. But it's not just about pushing them away, it's about replacing them with something else.
Okay, so we're not just trying to, block out negative thoughts. We're consciously choosing to think something else. What should we be replacing them with?
Thoughts of health, of course, but also, and this is really important, feelings of gratitude. The chapter says that just trying to suppress negative thoughts can be really draining, kind of like a losing battle. It's much more effective to just choose a positive, grateful thought to focus on instead. It's like, filling a glass. You can't fill it with water if it's already full of something else.
And gratitude plays a really significant role in this, right? It's not just any positive thought, it's specifically gratitude.
Exactly. The chapter emphasizes the power of gratitude, especially when those doubts creep in or the negative thoughts just feel overwhelming. Gratitude, it says, is like this direct connection to that supreme, that thinking substance we talked about. It gives you strength to choose your thoughts. It's almost like a reset button for your mind.
So instead of getting caught up in those worries about our health, the advice is to shift our focus to gratitude for the health we do have, for the potential for even greater health.
Yeah, and it's that shift in focus that can make all the difference. And that brings us to, I think, one of the most important takeaways from the chapter. The absolute need to break free from any mental connection to disease and embrace a mental connection to health. Like, completely sever those ties with disease in your mind.
Wow, severing all mental ties with disease. That's a powerful statement. It was like completely shifting your allegiance.
It is. And the chapter even draws a parallel to Christian Science, saying that its effectiveness, at least in part, comes from this emphasis on denying disease and affirming health through faith. But it also points out that it can't just be all mental. You have to have healthy habits in your external life as well.
Which goes back to that alignment between our thoughts and actions. So mental work is crucial, but it can't exist in a vacuum. Now, the chapter also talks about affirmations. How do they fit into all of this?
Well, it makes it clear that words by themselves don't have any magical power, right? But formulating key thoughts about that one substance, that source of health, and your connection to it, those can be super valuable. They're like reminders, They help counteract any negativity you might be exposed to.
And the chapter gives specific examples of affirmations we can use, right?
Yeah, it has some really powerful ones, like, there is one substance and I am that substance, or that substance is eternal and it is life. I am that substance and I am eternal life. And then That substance knows no disease. I am that substance, and I am health.
Those are like really concise, powerful statements. It's like a way to bring your mind back to those core beliefs we talked about.
Exactly. It's like having those touchstones you can return to when those negative thoughts start creeping back in.
Right. Now, beyond our internal thoughts, the chapter also talks about the importance of our external environment. How does that factor into creating a healthy mindset?
Yeah, it emphasizes the importance of being mindful of what surrounds you. The books you read, the pictures you see, the conversations you have. Choose things that promote health, strength, joy, vitality. It's about creating an environment that supports your positive thinking, kind of like a feedback loop.
Makes sense. It's hard to maintain a healthy mindset if you're constantly being bombarded with negativity. The chapter also revisits the idea of misusing willpower, specifically when it comes to trying to control internal bodily functions.
Right. It's reminding us that we shouldn't be trying to force our bodies to do things with our minds or trying to manipulate that formless, that universal energy to give us more vitality. It's saying that the vitality is already there. It's just a matter of aligning ourselves with it, not trying to force it.
It's about tuning in, not forcing. Now, there's also this idea of unfriendly forces that some people believe are working against their health. What does the chapter say about that?
It's pretty straightforward in saying that there aren't these external evil forces trying to make us sick. It says there's only one force, and it's a force for health. The real obstacle, according to the chapter, is our own negative thinking habits.
So the real battle is internal, not external. That's kind of empowering, actually.
It is. It puts the power back in our hands.
Exactly. So the chapter kind of wraps everything up by summarizing the key principles. What's the main message of Chapter 06?
The big takeaway is that we can achieve healthy internal functioning by consistently thinking in a certain way and making sure our actions match that thinking. And that certain way of thinking, it comes from using our will to focus on health, to choose those positive, grateful thoughts.
So it's all about using our minds intentionally, right? Not just letting our thoughts run wild, but actively choosing what we focus on.
Exactly.
So for you listening, today's deep dive into Chapter 06, it really highlights the power of our minds when it comes to health and well-being. It's not just about physical stuff, it's about how we're using our mental energy. Are we wasting it on trying to force things, or are we using it to cultivate a healthy mindset?
Yeah. Think about how you're using your willpower right now. What are you focusing on? What are those core beliefs you're holding on to? Are they supporting your health or working against it?
And think about those practical steps the chapter gives for forming that conception of perfect health. What can you do today, even something small, to start aligning your actions with that vision of a healthier, stronger you?
Maybe the biggest takeaway from this chapter is that self-care isn't just about what we do for our bodies, it's about how we manage our minds. What if true well-being starts with the choices we make in our own thoughts? Something to think about.